The sound of alarm bells echoes through the marble halls of the Federal Reserve Building in Washington, D.C., where emergency meetings have been called at unprecedented hours. If you're watching this video, you need to hit that subscribe button right now because what I'm about to reveal will shock you to your core. Comment below if you think America's financial dominance is truly under threat. The year 2025 has brought with it a seismic shift that threatens to topple the very foundation of American economic power. Behind closed doors, Federal Reserve officials are scrambling to address what they're calling the greatest challenge to dollar supremacy since the Bretton Woods system collapsed in 1971. The BRICS alliance. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa has evolved from a simple economic forum into a formidable coalition that now includes 10 full member nations and 10 partner countries. Indonesia officially joined as a member state in early 2025, becoming the first Southeast Asian nation to formally align with this anti-Western economic bloc. The expansion represents more than just numbers on paper. These nations collectively control vast natural resources, represent over 40% of the world's population, and account for nearly a quarter of global GDP. Their combined economic might creates a gravitational pull that's drawing other nations away from traditional Western financial systems. What makes this alliance particularly dangerous to American interests is their shared commitment to reducing dependence on the US dollar in international trade. The renminbi is reportedly already being used in 50% of intra-BRICS trade, a dramatic shift that has sent shockwaves through the corridors of power in Washington. The July 2025 BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro marked a turning point that financial analysts are calling the Rio Reset. While no unified BRICS currency was officially launched, the groundwork was laid for a comprehensive, alternative financial architecture that could eventually render the dollar obsolete in vast segments of global commerce. President Trump's response to this growing threat has been characteristically aggressive and uncompromising. He has threatened to impose 100% tariffs on any nation that participates in creating or supporting an alternative currency to the US dollar. We require a commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar. Trump declared on Truth Social. The presidential threats represent more than political posturing. They reveal the deep anxiety within American leadership about losing what economists call the exorbitant privilege of issuing the world's reserve currency. This privilege allows the United States to finance its massive deficits by essentially printing money that other nations must accept for international transactions. However, Trump's tariff threats may be creating the very problem they're designed to prevent. Economic analysis suggests that aggressive trade wars and weaponization of the dollar are actually accelerating the de-dollarization process by giving other nations compelling reasons to seek alternatives. Behind the scenes at the Federal Reserve, emergency task forces are working around the clock to develop strategies to maintain dollar dominance. Sources within the central banking community describe an atmosphere of barely controlled panic as officials realize that traditional monetary policy tools may be insufficient to address this unprecedented challenge. The Federal Reserve's dilemma is complicated by the fact that raising interest rates to strengthen the dollar could trigger a domestic recession, while keeping rates low risks further erosion of the dollar's international appeal. This impossible balancing act has led some economists to suggest that the Fed is fighting a battle it cannot win through conventional means. Market indicators are already reflecting this uncertainty. Foreign central banks have been quietly reducing their dollar reserves and diversifying into gold, euros, and other alternative assets. This trend, while gradual, represents a fundamental shift in confidence that could accelerate rapidly if the right catalyst emerges. The BRICS nations are not waiting for American permission to proceed with their financial revolution. China's digital yuan is being tested in cross-border transactions, while Russia has developed alternative payment systems that bypass traditional Western banking networks. India and Brazil are exploring bilateral trade agreements that completely eliminate dollar intermediation. What's particularly alarming for American policymakers is that this isn't just about economics, it's about geopolitical power. The ability to control international financial flows has been America's ultimate weapon for enforcing sanctions and influencing global behavior. If that power erodes, it could fundamentally alter the balance of international relations. The timeline for this transformation is accelerating faster than most experts predicted. While a unified BRICS currency may still be years away, the infrastructure for alternative financial systems is being built today. Cross-border payment platforms, commodity trading mechanisms, and currency swap agreements are all pieces of a puzzle that's rapidly coming together. Intelligence reports suggest that several additional nations are considering joining the BRICS alliance, attracted by the promise of economic sovereignty and reduced exposure to American financial pressure. Each new member adds momentum to the anti-dollar movement and brings additional resources to support alternative systems. The Federal Reserve's internal modeling shows increasingly dire scenarios for dollar demand in international markets. If current trends continue, the dollar's share of global reserves could fall below the critical threshold needed to maintain its reserve currency status. This would trigger a cascading effect that could devastate American living standards overnight. Emergency meetings between Federal Reserve officials and Treasury Department representatives have focused on developing contingency plans for what some are calling the post-dollar world. These discussions, while highly classified, reportedly include scenarios for implementing capital controls and other desperate measures to prevent massive capital flight. The banking sector is already feeling the pressure as international clients begin questioning the wisdom of maintaining large dollar-denominated positions. Several major institutions have quietly increased their exposure to alternative currencies and assets, hedging against the possibility of rapid dollar devaluation. What makes this crisis unique is that it's not being driven by any single catastrophic event, but rather by a slow-burning shift in global economic architecture. The BRICS nations are methodically building parallel systems that will eventually provide a complete alternative to Western financial infrastructure. The psychological impact on markets cannot be understated. For the first time since World War II, there's a credible alternative to American financial hegemony on the horizon. This shift in expectations is already influencing investment decisions and could become self-fulfilling as more actors position themselves for a multipolar financial world. Intelligence agencies are monitoring communications between BRICS finance ministers for signs of accelerated cooperation. Recent intercepts suggest that private discussions are far more advanced than public statements indicate. With detailed plans for currency integration and joint financial institutions already in development, the Federal Reserve's Research Department has produced classified reports outlining the potential impact of various de-dollarization scenarios. The most optimistic projections show significant economic disruption, while worst-case scenarios include hyperinflation, currency collapse, and social unrest on a scale not seen since the Great Depression. Senior officials within the Federal Reserve System are privately acknowledging that traditional tools for maintaining currency dominance may no longer be effective in a multipolar world. The challenge requires a complete rethinking of American monetary strategy, but time may be running out to implement necessary changes. The BRICS payment system, still under development, represents perhaps the greatest threat to American financial control. Once operational, this system will allow member nations to conduct international trade without any dollar involvement, effectively creating a parallel global economy outside American influence. Market volatility in currency markets reflects growing uncertainty about the dollar's future role. Professional traders are increasingly positioning for potential dollar weakness, while smart money is quietly accumulating assets that could benefit from a shift away from dollar dominance. The stakes could not be higher for American economic supremacy. The dollar's role as the world's reserve currency has been the cornerstone of American power for over 7 decades. Its loss would represent not just an economic defeat, but a fundamental reshaping of global power structures that could relegate America to a secondary role in world affairs. As we witness these historic developments unfold, one thing is certain: the financial world order that has existed since the end of World War II is under unprecedented assault, and the outcome of this struggle will determine the economic fate of nations for generations to come.